Hi everyone. Now let's continue to discuss on JUnit 5 assertions, and in this lecture we will discuss about assert iterable equals method. So here assertions API provides a static assert iterable equals method. Now this method helps us in validating that actual and expected iterables are deeply equal. So friends, what do we mean by the iterable? So in Java, iterable is an interface which is being implemented by various collections. So some of the classes is list, set, and many more. So whichever class is implemented, this iterable interface has a mechanism for iterating its elements one by one. So here assert iterable equals method takes in an actual and expected iterables and validate that they are deeply equal or not. So here iterable equality means that elements of iterables are equal. The order of elements should match and the number of elements also should match. So let's say if we take an iterable of type say list. So if you want to compare two lists, then the element of both lists should be equal, which is the values. The order of the element should match and the number of elements also should match. So if all these three properties are satisfied, then both the iterables are equal. So this assert iterable equals does assert actual and expected iterable, and if the actual and expected iterables are deeply equal, then the test case will pass, and if they are not deeply equal, then the test case will fail. So now let's see the different overloaded assert iterable equals method. So the first method takes an expected and an actual iterable, and it simply asserts that whether they both are deeply equal or not. The second overloaded method takes in an expected and actual iterable and along with a message. So this message comes into picture whenever assert iterable equals method fails, that expected and actual iterables are not equal. The third overloaded method takes an expected iterable, the actual iterable, and a supplier functional interface which supplies a message whenever our assertion will fail. So the only advantage of using the supplier function interface is that the string evaluation is done only when the assertion fails. Thus it has advantage of being lazily evaluated. So friends, now let's go to Eclipse and see the demonstration of assert iterable equals method. So friends, in our last lecture we discussed about assert array equals method. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about assert iterable equals method. So assert array equals and assert iterable equals work exactly the same. So in our book service class, here I will be writing a method which will return back a list of string which would be nothing but the title of book present in list of books, and it will bring the list of titles only for those whose publisher will match. So the input argument will be a string publisher. So here I will simply copy this method and I paste it, and instead of string array will simply return a list of string, that a list is also an iterable. So in order to demonstrate assert iterable equals method, we are simply returning a list of string. So I will change the name of method as get book titles by publisher, and will provide an input as string publisher. So here instead of book IDs it will be book titles, and then we'll iterate the list of books taking one book at a time, and will compare the book publisher with the publisher which we provided, and if they match we'll simply add the title of that book to the book titles list, and at the end we'll simply return the list of book titles. So friends, we have written the method which will return us back the titles of book whose publisher matches with our input. So in our test folder, I will create one class. We'll give it a name as assert iterable equals demo. We'll keep it in a package. Assert iterable equals. We'll click finish. So friends, in our last lecture we discussed about assert array equals method. So assert iterable equals works exactly the same. The only difference is here it compares an array and here it compares an iterable. So I will just copy these all three methods and will reuse in our assert iterable equals demo class. So I'll simply paste it here. So now let's see the demonstration of first assert iterable equals method. So I'll give the name of the test method as assert iterable equals with no message. So friends, here you can see that as we are testing a method of book service which is get book titles by publisher. So we have initialized book service. We have created 3 books and we have added these 3 books to the list of books by using add book method. And here we will call book service get book titles by publisher and we'll pass the publisher, let's say Vrox. So this will return back a list of string which is nothing but list of titles. So I'll give it a name as actual titles. We'll import the list. So friends, here we got the actual titles by passing in a publisher as Vrox. So this publisher matches with book ID 1 and book ID 3. So it will collect the titles of it and return back a list of string. So what we'll get head first Java and head first JavaScript. So now let's assert the actual titles with expected titles. So here I will be creating a list. We'll give it a name as expected titles. We'll import array list. And to these expected titles, we will add what we are expecting from this method when we pass Vrox. So let's say we are expecting that it should have value head first Java and it should have one more value as head first JavaScript. So friend, this is our expectation that when we want to test this method by passing in a Vrox publisher, we should get 2 strings, one having title as head first Java and other having title as head first JavaScript. So now we'll assert the expected iterable and an actual iterable by calling assert iterable equals method. We will import it from the assertions class and we'll simply pass the expected title and the actual titles. So friends, here we know that whatever we are expecting out of this method should match head first Java and head first JavaScript. And if I run this test case, you can see the test case got passed because whatever we expected, we got the same result. So friend, let's suppose if I add one more expectation, let's say it's also written head first design pattern. So here you can see the Vrox as a publisher matches to head first Java and head first JavaScript. But we are setting a wrong expectation that it should return head first Java and head first JavaScript and also head first design pattern. So if I run this test case, we know that this test case should fail. So here you can see the test case got failed with an assertion failed error saying iterable lengths differ. The expectation is 3 but was 2. So here you can see the expectation which we have set is having a length as 3, but whatever we are getting it back from this method is 2, the head first Java and head first JavaScript. So friend, this was the first assert iterable equals method with no message. So now let's see the second overloaded method of assert iterable equals, which takes in a message. So here I will give the name of this method as assert iterable with message, and here I will just copy this part and I'll paste it here. So friend, the scenario is exactly the same. So the only difference in the second assert iterable equals method is it takes in a string message which we want to print in the JUnit console whenever our test case fails. So let's say we give the message as book titles didn't match. So if I run this test case, you can see it will fail because our expectation is also setting that it should return head first design pattern, and it is only returning head first Java and head first JavaScript. So here you can see that it gave the assertion failed error with the same message which we saw earlier, that iterables lengths differ, expected 3 but was 2, and it also printed our string message saying book titles didn't match. So friend, this was the second assert iterable equals method. Now let's see the third assert iterable equals method, which takes in a message supplier. So here I will change the name of the test method as assert iterable equals with message supplier. So I'll just copy this part and I will paste it here. So friends, here scenario remains as it is. The only difference with this assert iterable equals is instead of directly passing this string value which gets evaluated every time, we provide a supplier function interface like this. Now only advantage is this string gets evaluated only when the test case will fail. So if I run the test case now, you can see the test case got failed with an assertion failed error, and the error was same what we saw in the second overloaded method. So friends, if I remove this third expectation from each test case, and if I run all the test cases together, you can see all the 3 test cases got passed, because what we expected is head first Java and head first JavaScript, and what we actually got the title as head first Java and head first JavaScript, because these two titles matched with Vrox as a publisher. So friends, in this lecture we saw the demonstration of assert iterable equals method. I hope you like this video. Thanks, have a nice day.